In the peaceful village of Vaigai, life moved at its own rhythm. The village was nestled between a majestic mountain range and a sparkling river that fed the land. The people lived in harmony with nature, depending on the river's waters to nourish their crops and livestock. Among the villagers was a man named Sundar. Unlike his neighbors, who were busy tending to farms or trading in the marketplace, Sundar had a peculiar obsession. He loved to fix small, seemingly insignificant things. A broken door hinge, a squeaky cartwheel, or a cracked pot, he took immense pride in solving these minor issues, believing that tending to these details was the most important contribution he could make to the village. One morning, the village elder Aya called for an urgent gathering. "The river is drying up faster than usual," Aya said with concern. "Our crops are wilting, and soon we'll face a severe water shortage. We must act quickly to find out what's wrong." As the villagers shared their worries, Sundar, who had been distracted by a loose nail in a cart, raised his hand. "Aya, that cartwheel looks like it's about to fall off. Shouldn't we fix it first?" he said earnestly. Aya sighed. "Sundar, this isn't about the cart. The village is facing a crisis. If we don't solve the water problem, everything will suffer. Focus on what matters." Sundar's mind, however, remained stuck on the cart's broken wheel. To him, solving these small problems felt just as important as anything else. This attitude earned him the nickname Mosnai, the flea-catching dog, because like a dog obsessed with scratching fleas, Sundar always focused on tiny issues while the village dealt with greater problems. Sundar's obsession with details had been a part of his life since childhood. While the other boys in the village were busy playing games or learning to manage their family farms, Sundar spent hours tinkering with small objects. He would straighten sticks, fix broken toys, and even mend his friend's sandals if he found a loose strap. Growing up, his obsession only deepened. As the villagers prepared for the planting season or repaired their homes, Sundar could always be found in some corner of the village, fixing the smallest items he could find. He believed that the true path to happiness lay in perfecting the little things. This behavior often frustrated his wife, Lakshmi. "You're always fixing small things, Sundar, but you never look at the bigger problems around us. How will we survive if you spend all your time mending things that don't matter?" she would ask. But Sundar dismissed her concerns. To him, focusing on minor issues felt like a calling. He took pride in his work, convinced that it made a difference, even if no one else seemed to understand. One afternoon, as Sundar was walking through the village, he noticed a stray dog scratching itself furiously by the roadside. The dog twisted and turned, trying to rid itself of fleas. Sundar, ever the fixer, felt compelled to help. He kneeled beside the dog, took out a small comb from his pocket, something he always carried for small tasks, and began combing the dog's fur, trying to remove each flea. Sundar was so absorbed in the task that he didn't notice the growing clouds overhead or the villagers rushing by him on their way to Aya's house for an important meeting about the river. His entire focus was on the dog's fleas, oblivious to the larger concerns of the village. Meanwhile, Aya had dispatched several villagers upstream to investigate why the river's flow had decreased. Reports came back that a massive tree had fallen across the river, blocking the flow of water. The villagers were ready to rally together to clear the tree and save their crops, but Sundar was still preoccupied with the stray dog. As days passed, the situation in the village became dire. The river had nearly dried up, and the crops were starting to wither under the relentless heat. The animals, too, began to show signs of distress, their water sources dwindling. Aya called for another village-wide meeting, imploring everyone to help clear the river blockage. "Sundar, will you join us this time?" Aya asked, hoping the man had come to realize the gravity of the situation. But Sundar was more concerned with a new task. "Aya, the roof of my house has a crack. I need to fix it before the rains come." "Surely that's more urgent than the river," he said, his mind still stuck in the minutiae. Lakshmi, frustrated beyond words, urged him to see reason. "Sundar, the entire village is coming together to solve this crisis. If the river dries up completely, your cracked roof won't matter." But Sundar brushed her off. He couldn't let go of his obsession with minor repairs. He believed that once these small issues were dealt with, he could focus on the bigger problems. What he didn't realize was that time was running out. The villagers, without Sundar's help, marched upstream to the site of the fallen tree. It took hours of hard labor, but they managed to chop the tree into pieces and clear the blockage. Slowly, the river began to flow again, bringing life back to the village. The villagers cheered, their hard work rewarded. By the time Sundar noticed the commotion, it was too late. He wandered down to the river, confused by the celebration. When he saw the flowing water, he realized what had happened. Aya approached him, looking tired but relieved. "While you were busy catching fleas, Sundar, the rest of us saved the village," he said. For the first time, Sundar felt ashamed. His obsession with small tasks had blinded him to the bigger problems that affected not only him but the entire village. He had spent so much time fixing minor things that he had failed to see the larger picture. That night, Sundar sat by the river, reflecting on his mistakes. He had learned a hard lesson. While it was important to fix the small things in life, it was equally important to see the bigger issues that could affect everyone. From that day forward, Sundar changed. He began to focus not only on the details but on the larger problems facing the village. And in doing so, he earned back the respect of his neighbors,